To begin our warm-up, we are going to be multiplying these matrices together. To do this, you will multiply 1 by 7 plus 0 times 3. The next one, you will do 1 times negative 2 plus 0 times 2. 4 times 7 plus 5 times 3. 4 times negative 2 plus 5 times 2. So the answer for this one is 7. For this one, it's negative 2. For this one, it's 43. And for the final one, it's 2. So your final answer would be 7 over 43 and negative 2 over 2. For our second problem, we are going to graph these 4 points. And then once you graph them, you will name what quadrant they are in. So 1, 3 would be about here. Negative 2, 2 would be about here. Negative 4, negative 3 would be here. Positive 3, negative 2 would be here. This is quadrant 1. This is quadrant 2. This is quadrant 3. And this is quadrant 4. So in the end, these 4 points go in order. So 1, 3 would be in quadrant 1. Negative 2, 2 would be in quadrant 2. Negative 4, negative 3 would be in quadrant 3. And 3, negative 2 would be in quadrant 4. Now, as you can see, the 4 quadrants go in counterclockwise rotations, and you probably want to memorize these in order to be able to plot points, especially for today's lesson.
For problem number 3 of the warm-up, we're going to practice coordinate rotations. We're going to get the point notations. We're going to get the point 7, 1 and put it through the coordinate notation x plus 5, y minus 2. Since this is the x value and this is the y value, we're going to plug 7 in for x and 1 in for y. So this would end up being 7 plus 5, comma, 1 minus 2. The end point would be 12, comma, negative 1. That is your final point. That is this after it is put through this coordinate notation. Now we will start lesson 9.4, performing rotations. These 2 definitions are really important, so you might want to pause the screen so you can write them down. The first words that are important are center of rotation, and that is a fixed point that a figure is rotated about. This is represented by point P in the picture below.
And the second definition is angle of rotation, formed by rays drawn from the center of rotation to a point. Now, for the first part of our lesson today, we are going to rotate a triangle about a point P of about 90 degrees. So first, draw a triangle, preferably right, because that's what I'm using, and you want to label the point. Next, we are going to draw point P, which will be the center of rotation, and that will be point P. Now, what you do is you draw a segment, a line segment from point P to point A, like that. You will measure 90 degrees and make a ray from point P. Would be about here. These 2 segments in red you want to be congruent, so they will be congruent. And this will be the same for all segments we make for the points. So make a segment from P to B, like that, and then again do 90 degrees, make it congruent, and this is B prime. You make a segment from P to C, and then make a congruent segment. So the congruent segment would look, and at 90-degree angle, would look like this. And so then C would be there. That would be C prime. Then we will connect the dots to create A prime, B prime, and C prime. This is your triangle.
For the next part of the lesson, we will learn the coordinate rules for rotating an object about the origin. 90, 180, and 270. For 90 degrees, the coordinate notation that you would use, negative BA. For 180 degrees, and you would make it negative A and negative B. And then for 270, you would get AB, and you would make it B, negative A.
But remember, these rules only work if you're rotating the point or the figure about the origin 0, 0.
And also remember, all of the rotations that we're doing are counterclockwise. For the next part of the lesson, we will learn how to rotate a point using matrices. Okay, so for this part, these rules right here, these matrices, which you would multiply a point by in order to get the point that is rotated by the degrees that are listed above. For 360 degrees, to get your point, say your point is AB, 90 degrees, you would multiply it by this matrix.
Now for the next part of our lesson, we are going to rotate this figure using coordinate rules. So we are going to rotate it 180 degrees. Is A, B becomes negative A, negative B. This point will be A, this point will be B, and this point will be C. A is 3, 5. Going through the coordinate rule, A will become negative 3, negative 5. Our next point is B, and the points for B are 4, 3, and it will become negative 4, negative 3. And finally, we have point C, which is 2, 3, and become negative 2, negative 3. Now we have to graph it. So, we go negative 3, negative 5. There's A prime. For B prime, we go negative 4, negative 3, and that is B prime. And lastly, for C, we go negative 2, negative 3, and that is C prime. And you get this figure rotated counterclockwise 180 degrees about the origin. This new figure is now in quadrant 3. Our figure ABC went from quadrant 1 to quadrant 3, A prime, B prime, and C prime, and this would be your final answer.
Now we will do the same problem, but using the matrices that we just learned. Now we're going to use the matrix C for 180, and we're going to multiply that by our points of A, B, and C. Since we know that A is 3, 5, we put 3 over 5. Next we plug the B in and the C. Then we multiply them, and the answer that you get should be negative 3, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 3. A prime would end up being negative 3, comma, negative 5. And this goes for B prime and C prime. Then we would plot these, getting negative 3, negative 5 for A prime, negative 4, negative 3 for B prime, and negative 2, negative 3 for C prime. This is just another way that you can figure out how to rotate your triangle 180 degrees about the origin.
Lastly, for our lesson, here is the only theorem. This theorem states that a rotation is an isometry.
Isometry means that even after the rotation, it remains equal, meaning that AB is congruent to A prime, B prime. Does that make sense?
No, Alyssa, that's making dollars. Now, since we've taught the entire lesson, you can go to this website, and it will give you 6 practice problems of rotation. It's interactive. Now, it's time to do our challenge problem. Alyssa wants to decorate her room in a unique way to show her good friend Erin. Erin recommended that she rotate a picture 180 degrees to give the room some flair. Alyssa needs your help. Her picture is a triangle with the points of 4, 3, 2, 2, and 4, -1. She wants to rotate the picture about the point -1, -2. Please show your work.
In order to start this problem, you want to plot the points. The first point being 4, 3, and we're going to call this point A. The next point is 2, 2, and we're going to call it B. The last point is 4, -1. We're going to plot right here and call C. When we connect this, we will get our triangle. The point that we're going to rotate it about is -1, 2, which we're going to call P. You need to find how far over and up it is to get to A. So it's 5 over to get to A and 5 up. And since in our coordinate notation, to rotate 100 degrees, it becomes -x and -y, we're going to get these numbers and make them negative. So we are going to go left 5 and down 5 to get our point A prime. Next we will find B prime, and this will be in blue. Now we also need to find how far it is from P, and for the B you need to go over 3 and up 4. And we're going to make this negative again like you see here, and we're going to go left 3 and down 4. Lastly, we will do the C in orange. The C is also 5 away from P, so this is 5 again, but it is up 1. Up 1. So we will go over 5 like we did with A, we will only go down 1, and this gives us our C prime point. When we connect the dots, we get a triangle. It's rotated 180 degrees.